to the BXG podcast. BXG Productions presents the Nexus, a BXG production, whatever. Pop and nerd culture meet at the Nexus of the universe. I don't care. It's, we're recording late. It's Saturday. Our next 2 weeks, next week, week to a week and a half is going to be all kind of bum puzzled because of travel for Greg's wedding. We're gonna have this will go live, so if you're listening to this the day it posts, it'll be Monday, and then we're gonna have another fun little exercise. It's gonna be kind of like the Nexus cross vertical slice that'll go out on, I'm thinking, Wednesday. But anyway, I'm one of your hosts, the Alpha Guy, Brent Beswick, and joining me as my co-host, Gregory T. Filson, and the T is for something that starts with T. Transatlantic transcendencies. I don't fuck.
Yeah, continental flights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that still, is it transcontinental?
I think so.
I don't know. Whatever.
I mean, you're flying.
I'm just, it's going to be watching, in the words of Louis C.K., watch a Adam Sandler movie and take a big runny dump, and I'll be there.
Yeah, it's only like a 5-hour flight.
Only.
It's kind of funny. Yeah,
I hate flying.
I know you hate. I don't. Yeah. I like flying.
I would rather drive the 36 hours, honestly.
I don't mind driving either. I like traveling. I just like traveling. Right. So I'm okay with either. I have no preference. I would, obviously I can't drive over the ocean.
Sure.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah. But I will I'll be flying soon. Hopefully a couple days after the wedding. So just locking in where exactly we want to go. And we were going to go to Hawaii. We have locked it. We're just not sure which island. So
that's
trying to figure that out. Yeah.
Because I just asked you like the other day.
Yeah. So just not sure which island, but still, that's a nice thing about now compared to like, older times where like you had to really plan for these things. And now with the internet, you can just plan whenever. So, I mean, we might go to Denver for like a day just to see Dead and Company right before we take this thing. So anyhow, working that logistically out, but yeah, 1 week out from the big
nuptials.
Day. Yeah.
That feels like a word that should have a silent P.
Yeah.
Like pneumonia.
Yeah. Nuptials.
Penuptials.
Beside that, Brenton, beside the flying part, are you excited about your trip to California? This is your first trip to California, correct?
Yeah. I feel like I will just be likely stressed out in a different time zone because the kiddos are coming and we're doing a lot of stuff.
Sure. And, do you have something planned every day?
More or less, yeah.
So Monday's the trip in.
Yeah, we don't leave until 6:00 Eastern. So
and you'll get here at 8 o'clock
local time. Yeah. And then, drive to our hotel. And then Tuesday, we're going to get up. We're going to drive out to the pier at Santa Monica and kind of work our way back through like the Hollywoody stuff, like Walk of Fame and all that, I'm sure like touristy things. And then try to get back down to the hotel, do a little relaxing. We're going to go to medieval times that night.
All right.
Yeah. Hopefully Jim Carrey will be there. A la Cable Guy.
Yeah.
And then so that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're at Disneyland in California Adventure, which you'll be joining us for one of those days. And Friday, we're gonna get up. We're gonna go to downtown Disney and just kind of look around there. There's a Lego store there that I will want to look at, as well as my son probably. And some other stores, get something to eat, and then we're gonna drive up for the rehearsal well, it's not a rehearsal, it's just a dinner, right?
It's just a dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Saturday is the thing. Sunday, beach and Santa Barbara touristy stuff. Monday, back down early to go to Universal Hollywood because our flight doesn't leave until 9 p.m.
It's pretty
So
solid.
do Universal, Mario Land or Super Nintendo World, whatever it's called. And then, I mean, we're going to try and do other stuff, but that's like the main thing that we're going to be doing at Universal. And then we're going to skedaddle, and it'll probably take me a month to catch back up on sleep, like get my sleep schedule correct.
The sleep thing's definitely weird. I mean, I remember we just did like a weekend in Miami and went back to like East Coast time, and that really threw me off. And then last year, Chicago didn't throw me off that much, even though like Central Time is 2 hour difference. It didn't throw me off too bad. But East Coast time really threw me off. Yeah. So, and then Hawaii, I think, is 2 hours difference than California.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you, how long is that flight?
I think it's 5 hours.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's way out there, I guess. Have you been to Hawaii, Brenton?
No.
Okay.
No.
I didn't know.
No. Furthest west I've been is
yeah.
Kansas City.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
I'm glad. I was very nervous for a while that everyone was going to travel out here and it was going to be this shitty weather that we've been having.
Yeah.
Because we've had actually not good weather here. And now it's
looks
back.
good.
It's great.
It looks good.
It's perfect weather.
I'll tell you what.
And so that makes me very happy.
That's a good segue, because the good weather's back. You know what else is back?
What's that, Brent?
Who else is back?
A couple things.
Tyler Rake is back.
That's right.
Extraction 2. Extraction 2. We've got some reviews. We've got a new movie with Extraction 2. We have the first episode of Secret Wars, which we'll have to get creative with on that. As far as what we're looking to do with reviews, because of the all the travel stuff. And then Avatar, The Way of Water. I'm actually really looking forward to that discussion, because I think that you and I are going to butt heads a little bit.
Okay.
That might be fun. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about just some of the stuff that, well, initially I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that was announced at the Nintendo Direct the other day. But I think I'm actually just going to hold off on that because we're going to do Vertical Slice tomorrow night. And I think before we get into the main topic of that show, that we might talk a little bit about the Nintendo Direct and some of the things that were shown, and then also the pre-trial or whatever for the Xbox FTC legal battle over the Activision Blizzard acquisition. I think we'll just leave those there, and so we'll just have the 3 reviews tonight. And I don't know, you wanted to talk about the sub.
Well, we can't. It's a little, now I feel like at this point, we could, it's been a few days. It's not as
sure. So it has.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk about submarine expert James Cameron a little bit later on.
We will. Yeah.
So perhaps we can, divulge into it at that point. But Extraction 2 launched this past weekend. Well, I guess 2 weekends. I mean, we're recording on a Saturday. It debuted on, I think, the 16th. So we're a touch behind on Extraction 2. I like that it's just Extraction 2 and there's no like weird subtitle.
Yeah, we don't need a subtitle
or anything like that. This is a Netflix film directed, written by the Russo brothers and Ande Parks, and directed by Sam Hargrave. Chris Hemsworth obviously is the lead. Tyler Rake, Golshifte Farahani plays Nick Khan, who's like kind of his number one. Adam Besa is her brother. He has a prominent role in this film. And then you have the two brothers who kind of make up the head of this sort of crime family in was it Georgia, or I don't remember the country.
I think it was Georgia.
I think they spent some time in Estonia. I don't know. It was
Yeah.
one of those like former Soviet bloc countries. Zarab Radiani, played by Tornike. These names are just
Stuff.
I'm really sorry to all these folks. Tornike Gogrishiani, and then David Radiani, played by Tornike Bazavia. And there's some cameos, most notably Idris Elba is the main cameo, as he's a man who recruits Mr. Rake after he is improbably nursed back to health. I feel like we're just gonna get right after it. We're not gonna do spoiler free for this one. I don't think we'll do spoiler free for either of these movies tonight. What do you think about Extraction 2? Before you get into that, I just want to highlight two things. The
Yes.
first Extraction had, I believe it was a 14-minute single shot, no cut scene. And this one upped the ante with a 21-minute single shot, no cut scene. And it's also worth noting that Extraction 3 is already in development, which, based on the end, is not really a surprise.
Right. Yeah. No, I was just like right off the bat, I really enjoyed this. It was like, I mean, it's one of those things where you just like right off the bat, they just hit you with it, and then it's just action, action, action. There's not, I mean, there's the plot. I mean, there actually is a plot and everything. It's just that we don't need to worry about it. I mean, they did actually develop a plot and like tried to make it a thing, and I appreciate that effort, and I don't think the plot was like necessarily lost. It just wasn't. You just don't need it with movies like this.
Yeah.
And so for them to put the extra effort in to actually develop some sort of plot, I thought was like really cool. Like the first one did too. I think I actually ended up liking like the plot line of this just like better along with whatever everything going. But like I said, I mean, like this could have been a lazier plot line, still have all the action, still be a fun watch, but has the plot line, saving the characters. Chris Hemsworth's just like I was thinking. We were watching Indiana Jones the other day, and I was like thinking, boy, there isn't really like a Harrison Ford anymore. And I'm not saying that Chris Hemsworth is Harrison Ford, but he's probably like the closest we have to Harrison Ford. Not in the Harrison Ford realm. I'm saying like I can't think of anyone else that's kind of in that realm of like can be funny, can do the actiony things. No one's as good as Harrison Ford doing that thing. But
I have a wry
it's just
smile on my face. You want to know why?
Why is that?
Because I have the answer to this question.
Do
And
you?
it's not even, I'm not even being like pedantic.
Maybe I just overthought it.
It's
I
Nick
mean,
Cage.
maybe that was it. No, I don't think
the
I don't
man
think that,
stole the Declaration of Independence.
No, I think that, and I said this when we were talking about it. The thing difference with him is like Nick Cage is it's a different kind of idea than Harrison Ford. Like there's no, and the reason I'm saying this is that Harrison Ford had like two iconic characters that he played, and yet he was still doing like serious movies. But there's always that thing, and I said this about Harrison Ford. I think really like was forgotten, and to reel this back in is like to be able to have two iconic characters and then to be able and do other things and be respected on that is actually really tough. Because for Chris Evans to be Captain America, it's still tough.
Yeah, Evans, yeah.
It's still tough for him to kind of come back and make movies other than Knives Out. And it was like that was kind of it. But everything else, it's been not like, I mean, he's still Chris Evans and people still like him for being Chris Evans. But I think this has been the thing where it feels like Chris Hemsworth has been able to like get away from Thor, even though he still is Thor, in a way that Harrison Ford was able to get away from, Indy and Han Solo and do other things. And it's not, I'm not saying that like Nick Cage, like he just is his own thing. I think Nick Cage is kind of just 101, honestly.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
I think that's kind of the thing with him. And so that's what I really took away from this movie. It's like, yeah, he's not Harrison Ford, but like he's probably the closest we have to that right now, in that realm of things. I mean, I love Harrison Ford, so it's just trying to, because I loved watching this indie movie, the indie movie the other day. I was like, man, who is it? And nobody jumped out. But watching this, maybe at least consider that. So I just really enjoyed it. You talked about the other day, needing like just an action movie, like an
Yeah.
80s action movie. And it seems really unlikely we'll ever get truly that again, just for
Yeah.
different reasons. For different reasons. But I don't necessarily think the reasons are necessarily good. I think sometimes it's like okay to just have like that kind of hamminess and cheesiness
Yeah.
and not I we don't like saying this, but like non-wokeness of those movies, because that didn't
Yeah.
mean anything.
That's what
It just
that's what I want is
yeah,
like I can't think of like the best, like something just like Top Gun. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And even I know we got Top Gun Maverick and it was very good and it was really well regarded and everything, but I'm talking about a movie like Top Gun or Indiana Jones where it's just like I love this is obviously gonna come off poorly. And if people care, they could probably clip me on this and say, "Oh, look at this asshole." But I love kind of how misogynistic those movies are.
oh sure, no,
And
I
like when
mean
Indiana Jones is like, you know, doll, dame, that
yeah,
sort of thing. And we're in this we're in this era of like female empowerment, which is great because I think that we've gotten a lot of really great movies because of that. I think that,
right,
if you want to even stretch the whole way back to like Kill Bill, where Uma Thurman is just this complete badass, and some of Wonder Woman and the first one, and like some of these other movies where you have this strong female lead. Like I like Captain Marvel. I mean I
yeah,
like
right,
Captain Marvel, right? I don't have a problem with it that a lot of people do because of that. And but I like sometimes it's just like you have to have like this balance. It was funny because it's kind of like what Kish was talking about on the annals the other night about like 90s HBO, where you have this like ridiculous action star riding a motorcycle down a mountain to save a broken woman.
yeah,
And I think that there's like I think there is a place for that. I think that there's a place for like just an action movie where like it's just like a dude saving a chick, you know,
yeah,
and it
and
doesn't
I
have
think
to
that's
be
yeah.
anything more than that. But that's neither here nor there with this
No, what
particular
I'm saying is like this to
movie.
me, like this is about as close as we'll get. It seems like now as a movie like this. I really think at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like Top Gun was pretty close to it and everything, but it wasn't that, it wasn't I'm trying to think of like the hammiest kind of movie of that era, but was still like enjoy like Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Like a movie like that. It would be great, they redid
Yeah.
it or whatever, but it's not the same thing as like actually what Roadhouse was
Well,
and
it's
like
just like it just always seems like in all of these movies, like the stakes are so high and
right.
everything. And I just want like something where it's like the local crime lord kidnaps the hot bartender and this guy has to save her and he's got to go through, like warehouses,
Yeah.
something like that. But anyway, that's not, like I said, that's not really
Yeah.
Extraction 2. Um I had more like I had more excuse me, points of suspending disbelief with this one than I did the original.
Oh yeah.
Just because in the original it's like, okay, he's very accurate,
Yes.
but also he seems he also doesn't seem necessarily impervious. And in this movie, until the end, right? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, he seems very human in the first one. And then in this one, he's like the fucking Terminator. You know, it's like I have to admit, like, through the first like 10 minutes, I'm making fun of the movie because I'm like, oh, he's alive, even though he got shot in the fucking neck. And not like it wasn't a flesh wound. It didn't graze skin. He got shot in the neck.
Got shot in the neck.
And so there was that. And then even during, like, I've said this before, I'm a big fan of those like long single shot, that type of cinematography. I really like it. I thought the 14-minute one in the first movie was great. I look back to the scene in the first season of True Detective where they're like getting out of the shootout or whatever in the project, and it's a single shot. I thought it was so well done. I mean, even God of War, the 2 new God of War games are technically single shot over the shoulder games. The camera never changes, and I think that's really cool. But even within that, it's like he's in a prison yard riot. It's just like him and this woman who has, so far as we know, no formal training in being, an ass kicker.
I love it.
He's just like taking these people out right and left, and like there's just no stopping him. But it was, I feel like this is the perfect Netflix movie.
Yep.
And I know we talk about like the Flix funk, as we've dubbed it, but I think that when they do movies on Netflix right, this is what you get. And this movie probably doesn't do super great at the box office, honestly, but it's like in that nice pocket of, it's just like a 7,
Yeah.
It's no worse, no better. I think as far as Netflix goes, they certainly have had some high level films, The Irishman, high level TV shows with like House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, just to name a few. There's others, I'm sure. What's the one with Bateman? Ozark. And some different movies that have been like successful, but a lot of the stuff that they put out sucks. Like, it's bad.
It's just content.
Yeah, they just throw shit against the wall and hope some of it sticks sometimes. And I think that as you're looking at this in terms of how do we properly rate this, if this was a movie that I had gone to see in the movie theater, it's probably ultimately very forgettable. And I think that you can point to it on Netflix as being like, oh, that's a good Netflix movie. Like Red Notice is a good Netflix movie. Or what was the Adam Project? That's a good Netflix movie. Those are all good Netflix movies. And it's a case sometimes of like, you get what you pay for, and like, but also sometimes you kind of find a $5 bill in your pocket. And I think that that's kind of what some of these like higher end Netflix movies are. That's what I think this is. I mean, Chris Hemsworth is an action guy. Like, that's his thing. I don't think, this is where I disagree with you about the Harrison Ford comparison, even though it's a light comparison at best, by your own admission, is I don't see him going and doing any type of serious films. I don't think that, like, he's not going to be in some of these different film, like What Lies Beneath, or hell, even like why can't I think of it? Air Force One. Like, I can see him being in Air Force One, but he's not gonna be the president.
It's gonna be different. Yeah,
he's not gonna be the president. He's gonna be like a Secret Service guy. Know? I just don't think
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's
he doesn't have. I don't think he has quite the same dramatic chops that Harrison Ford does. I think that he's an action guy, and then he's an action comedy guy.
Yeah, I mean, he did that movie like Spiderhead. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, that movie. But I'm just saying, I'm just trying to think of things. But like, here's what he has coming up.
Okay.
So he has Furiosa. That's action. That's
that's Mad Max. Yeah.
Yeah. Transformers, another Transformers movie. Yeah, he's the voice of Optimus
Oh,
Prime. He's gonna be the
what?
voice of Optimus Prime in that one.
That
Apparently,
doesn't sound accurate.
I don't know. It says in production.
Are you on his
He's
IMDb?
yeah.
Okay, that's wrong.
An untitled Hulk Hogan biopic.
Oh
He's gonna
yeah,
be
he
Hulk
is playing
Hogan.
Hulk Hogan.
That's gonna
Yeah,
be sick.
I knew that. Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like that's actually gonna be sick. And then apparently the Secret Wars movie, he's gonna be Thor again. So
Yeah, that's not
yeah.
surprising.
So I mean, just looking at that, like it's just
focus on the relationship.
what the one movie that was kind of like surprising. Have you seen Bad Times at the El Royale? That's kind of like a different twist. That's just him being funny, though, not serious. But that's just like purely him being kind of like funny.
I think that this
Pretty
is.
solid movie.
I wonder if this Transformers thing is a cartoon.
I think it is.
Because it is animation.
Yep, it is. Yeah.
Because he's the voice of Optimus Prime. ScarJo is in. Brian Tyree Henry is the voice of Megatron. John Hamm, Sentinel Prime. Lawrence Fishburne, Alpha Trion, and Keegan Michael Key is Bumblebee.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So it's animation. I don't know. I don't like. I'm not a Hemsworth hater. I love it. I think he's awesome. But also, like, if you do look at his filmography, it's action. It's just it's just action the whole way down.
And you got to respect
Cabin
just
in the
knowing
Woods.
that, like,
he was in Cabin in the Woods.
Knowing that, like, he gets that lane. He doesn't, I think sometimes that's also just understanding, like, how Dave Bautista wants to be a serious actor.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And, like, that's obviously insane.
Yeah.
And so
very much
like,
so.
Chris Hemsworth is just like, I'm going to be an action movie because, like, I'm an action guy, like that. And there's something to be said about that. So,
yeah,
I mean,
think
like, you said 7, I put 7.5. Yeah, I had 7.5.
Yeah.
So
I think he could do like action comedy, or like he probably would do romantic comedy.
Oh yeah.
He could definitely do romantic comedy. Yeah. It's just it's too bad that who's the woman that did I can see her in my brain, my mind's eye, that did all the romantic comedies with McConaughey.
Kate Hudson?
Yes. She's probably a little old for him, huh?
No, Kate Hudson's like 43 or something.
How old's Hemsworth?
40.
Is he really?
She's 44. She's 44.
That's Chris.
And he's 39.
Oh,
yeah. It was perfect, actually.
Yeah, it just feels like she's been around forever.
She was 19, I think, in Almost Famous. So
yeah, that's a great movie.
She wasn't even out. She would have been 19. Yeah.
She would have had to have been an adult, because I think that there's a scene.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, Extraction 2, I recommend it. Check it out. It's a good
action. I definitely recommend it. It's just fun action.
It's like movie. Well, they put together a plot, but I do think that it's important to know that for an action movie, I've been watching the John Wick movies on your recommendation.
Yeah.
That plot is as thin as papyrus. It doesn't matter.
You don't need it.
It doesn't matter. It's just ass kicking.
You don't want it to matter. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no. Like, literally, it's like a guy gets pissed off because his dog.
Yep.
And that's it.
That's your plot.
That's the plot. And that's fine. We don't need to shoehorn these emotions in. We all know what we're here for. We're here for the ass kicking.
I guess that's probably the closest thing we have, like, to those old school movies. It's just like,
I don't know.
John Wick. It's just straight ass.
I don't know what a good corollary is.
There's nothing now. Just isn't really anything like. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Let's do Secret Wars here. We will get into Secret Wars starring
Secret Invasion.
I'm sorry.
Secret Wars is the movie.
Yeah, because that's not at all confusing.
Nope.
Seems to be doing pretty well in terms of like it's got a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, with over almost 6,000 reviews. And it's Samuel L. Jackson returns as Nick Fury, Ben Mendelsohn as Talos, Colby Smulders as Maria Hill, Olivia Colman, Secret Special Agent Sonia Fallsworth, Mia Clark, Gaia. Kingsley Ben Adir is the Rebel Scroll leader Gravik, with also in the first episode cameos from Martin Freeman as Agent Everett Ross, Don Cheadle as Colonel James Rhodes. Can't wait for him to get nominated for an Emmy for best special guest appearance again.
Walking through the room.
Yeah, Dermot Mulroney is the president in this. Secret. I'm checking. I'm checking. 64 on Rotten Tomatoes, critical, 75 audience. Episode 1, Nick Fury is brought back to Earth due to this sort of Splinter Cell scroll rebellion led by this Gravik character. Talos, Ben Mendelsohn's character, is trying to stop them. They're trying to probably eradicate humans from the Earth and make it livable for Skrulls. And Amelia Clark plays Gaia, who is, we learn, spoilers, is Ben Mendelsohn, Talos's daughter later in the episode. And the end of the episode was pretty gnarly. But
Yeah.
let's just kind of get into the first episode. What did you think?
I thought it was like perfectly okay.
Perfectly okay.
Like it was a setup episode. It was just like, here's all this stuff to like get you ready for what's happening. I mean, like, and then they have the obviously dramatic ending to this episode that I didn't obviously see coming. It kind of makes sense. I mean, it just does. But yeah, there was nothing to me that was like that was awesome, or there was nothing I was like outrageously like up, like, oh, that was bad. It was just kind of, here's some setup. We learn a couple things, and now we're kind of going forward. It's a little weird to watch something, and it's just like, obviously Samuel L. Jackson's awesome, but he's never like a main character in any of the Marvel movies.
No.
And so it's this thing where like, since he is like the main character, that's like not bad. It's just a little different, where you're kind of like, well, when's the superhero gonna come into play? And that was like the one thing I kind of thought about was like, it is, and you compared it like more to like Winter Soldier because it's on the ground. I mean, it definitely has like more of that aspect to it of just being ground oriented, and of course, Secret Invasion, it means like the aliens or whatever you want to say, but yeah, it was just, for me, it was fine. Like I had nothing against it. I watched it straight through. I was like, okay, and then the ending was definitely shocking. And then I was like, all right, well, I mean, like I'm interested to see. This is sort of funny because I haven't really caught up on the Marvel movies, but it's like one of those things where we still got to watch Quantumania and things like that. But it's like, I'm interested to see how like this evolves as a show and what it means, what it means going forward.
Yeah.
So that's, for me, like I said, just a perfectly fine, like, in a way, I'm kind of glad it wasn't anything more than what it was, because it kind of knows its role too.
Yeah.
So that I thought was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they did. I think they wanted to do something with this that was very much spy versus spy oriented. I mean, Nick Fury is the spy, right? He's the spy. Yes. That's what Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark refers to him in the original Avengers. He is the spy. His secrets have secrets. And I think that we're seeing a much older Nick Fury. He's been kind of had his mindset changed a little bit because of the blip They allude to that pretty heavily, and he's just kind of done with Earth. And I think that there's this opportunity to kind of explore with this character. Like, we got his origin story in Captain Marvel, but just kind of explore where he's at with his motivations and everything. We know that he's the guy that assembled the Avengers. Like, that's what he did through the first couple phases. And so what's he up to now, and how does he fit kind of moving forward? And I think, like, the main thing here is that Samuel L. Jackson and Nick Fury has basically said, like, I'm down to do Nick Fury pretty much forever.
Right. Yeah.
I think that he's cool with all that. He can do his Tarantino movies on the side and things of that nature, but he's just cool doing like Disney stuff for the paycheck. He's gonna be Nick Fury for as long as they want him to. And I would guess that if we don't get some type of confirmation on a Mace Windu Star Wars Samuel L. Jackson vehicle within the next 2 years, that there's I wouldn't bet the farm, but I'd bet at least one month's salary that's going to be a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he's said, like, I'd love to come back and everything, and so I certainly think that there will be something in that. But yeah, Amelia Clark doesn't really move the needle for me at all.
No.
She's I had the same feelings about her in Solo. I that was a twist that I saw coming. I mean,
it didn't even really feel like a twist. I'll be honest.
The second that the Talos character said, like, yeah, she just kind of pieced out. I'm like, oh, well, that's who Amelia Clark is. It's going to be his daughter. And so that wasn't, that was like showing up to a surprise party like 15 more minutes before they yell surprise, and you're just kind of there mingling, and then everybody's like, oh shit, he's here, surprise, that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm curious to see. The ending was, like you said, the ending was pretty shocking, because you felt like they had a handle on things. And so now, where do we go from here? And this is where probably, the action is going to pick up a little bit. And so I'm curious, and listen, man, one episode in, this shit's way better than Miss Marvel and She-Hulk. I mean, I don't.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think like that's the thing. It's just
like, in hindsight, like in the moment with She-Hulk, we were both like, oh, I kind of like it. It's kind of cool. They're trying to do something. That sure sucked. It wasn't good. Miss Marvel wasn't good.
Oh, I honestly, it's one of those things. Like, when you said She-Hulk for a second, I had to like think. Right? We watched that.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, that was like totally forgettable. Yeah.
Yeah. That's, I think, the problem with most Marvel stuff right now is it's just forgettable. Yeah. I think that, like, I felt like, and the pacing of it, there's too much. You don't get time, and they've really slowed it down. Because we haven't had a Marvel show since She-Hulk, which was, I don't even remember. That was like last fall into late summer, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I think that a big thing there is pacing, but ever since Endgame, well, really, what was Spider-Man Far From Home came out after Endgame. Since then, it's like, okay, I had a moment with Shang-Chi. I love that movie.
Right.
I had a moment with No Way Home. That was great. I had a moment.
That was great.
Watching Hawkeye. I loved that. I really liked Moon Knight. But the rest of it's been, and even I think I'm probably actually in the minority on Moon Knight. I think a lot of people thought it was very average.
You and I loved it. Yeah. Yeah. It was great.
So I'm just kind of like, I'm to the point now where with all the Marvel stuff, it's like, okay, you've given me so much. WandaVision, also great, excellent.
Yeah, yes.
It's like, okay, but now is time where, like, it has to get better now. Like, it has to get better now.
Right.
We're in a situation here, where it's just like, if it becomes just to the point where it's mediocre, just think about the Schumacher Batman movies, you know?
Yep. Okay.
Because like that's the direction that we're headed in, kind of.
I mean, so I haven't seen Quantumania, I have not seen
No, I haven't
Guardians of the
seen the two
Galaxy.
new ones. Nope.
And the next movie is the Marvels.
Yeah, which is not until the fall.
It is
I
November
feel like
10th.
yeah, November.
And then we get the following movie will be
Captain America.
it is, yeah, it's taking some time here. It is going to be, well, Deadpool. But that's not really, Captain America. Yeah. So we'll
they
get,
changed the name on that too. I forget
Yeah.
what it was, but it has a new name now.
but Captain America is going to be July next year. So we're talking more than a year away.
Yeah.
And so, but we're also, the weirdest thing about all this is like looking at this timeline, we're now less than 3 years away from the next Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, whatever, like on that, it's just that, like you said, they have to get better at some point.
They have to get
for that to mean anything. Like,
right.
I know that sounds like weird coming, because of what we've talked about in this show, but there has to be a point where like Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, and like who knows what even happens with that, considering
Jonathan Majors situation.
Jonathan Majors and all that. But there's this thing where I just like was thinking to myself when I was looking at this the other
John
day.
Boyega,
I was
man.
like, yeah.
John Boyega.
I mean, yeah.
Recast him.
Sure. But on this crazy thing for me, I was like, wow, we're only 3 years away. That doesn't seem like that, long. And yet I haven't been excited about these other movies. And like, that means something. Like when we were looking back, and I use this as my time frame, when we knew we were 3 years away from the end of the first Marvel, like the first group of people, the first Avengers, when we knew we were 3 years away from Endgame, like that meant a lot. And like everything was really building up, everything, those 3 years coming into it were like very important. And it just feels like,
here's the other thing.
34 months away.
Here's the other thing.
Nothing's that important right now.
we got Avengers 2012.
Right.
Then we got Ultron 2015. Then we got Infinity War 18, Endgame 19. And so now, before there's another Avengers movie, it's what, 26?
Yeah.
7 years?
Mm-hmm. Right. That's like my point is what has happened.
Right. Where's X-Men fit into all this? Where's the Fantastic Four fit into all this?
Right. And like eventually you and I, and not to just beat a dead horse, but you and I had this thing where we're just like, it would have been nice if they just took a break.
It just ended after Endgame.
Right. Or I mean, I understand like making money. I understand that, like, and doing that idea, and like, and I told this to Jamie, I was like, it would have been cool if they just took a break and then 2025 Avengers movie, just different people. I mean, honestly, like, who cares? Because we do it with Batman. We do, like, whatever.
With Harry Potter.
Like, and it's just like, who cares if we have another Captain America that's, that was my thing. It was like they worried so much about just keeping this going, but now it's at the point where like we're less than 3 years away from an Avengers movie, and I literally don't care. And that has nothing to do with me being older. I'm still immature as hell, so it has nothing to do with that. It's
just it's quality. It's the quality of everything.
Just the quality's just bad, and it's rough. But I mean, that's what, like, I mean, we're using Secret Invasion to go into this, but I think for me it is important because it's like this show should probably mean something at this point by the end. Like, some sort of reveal that leads us into the Marvels. Yeah. And the Marvels better be really, really good. I mean, like, I'm like, it sounds like silly, but and I'm not trying to be like weird because, like I said, I like Captain Marvel too. That movie has a lot standing on it, I really think. And if it is a flop, it will still make a bunch of money. I'm not, but you know what I mean? Like, Guardians
did very well. I know that.
Yeah.
I know Ant-Man was considered like not successful. It grossed 470. I'm sorry, I just had it. Gross. It grossed 476 million. Which is I think that this is a problem. I'll tell you that this is a problem right now is Ant-Man and the Wasp grossed 476 million. Shang-Chi grossed 432 million during the pandemic.
Yeah, right.
You know, and like Shang-Chi was dope. I love that movie.
Yeah, super dope. Yeah.
But they've been more miss than hit lately. That's all I'll say.
Right.
So with that being said, we're looking forward to seeing more. Kind of ended on a cliffhanger with a character potentially being dead. Although who really stays dead in any of these things?
Right, exactly.
All right, let's go. This one's the for all the marbles here.
The main event.
Yeah. Fight night heavyweight championship.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So obviously this is an at-home movie review. Avatar 2, The Way of Water, released December 16th of 2022. It earned 2.32 billion US dollars, making it the third highest grossing movie of all time behind the original Avatar and Avengers Endgame. The movie was so expensive that despite $2.3 billion, it only profited 531 million, which is crazy. We think about what the budget for this fucking thing would have been. Well, James Cameron even said, like, it has to be profitable. It has to be basically in the top 4 grossing movies ever, which is just insanity. Like, give the high expectations. Before we get into the movie, I just want to say, you and I have talked a lot of shit about James Cameron.
Yes.
In my opinion, justifiably so, because the man is as arrogant could be. And some of the things that he said about this movie really tainted my view of it prior to even watching it. But with that in mind, I told myself, you are presenting through podcasts, through YouTube as a reviewer. And I must be as objective as possible and take out that I don't like James Cameron.
Yes.
Get out of the equation to really figure out what I feel about this movie. And I think that I think it's important. And again, scores, we always say they're reductive, but we don't really have much of a reference for these things other than like Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic or whatever. 76% critical, 92% audience scores for Avatar: The Way of Water. I'm going to go first, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I came away from this. I can't see how you can say, not you, but the royal you. I can't see how you can come away with this saying that it's anything less than or more than good. I don't think it is less than good, but I also don't think that it is better than good. I think that all the disparate elements, the world itself, I mean, he's a prick and an arrogant, he's full of himself, but I mean, you have to kind of tip your hat. Like, this is cinematically maybe one of the most beautiful worlds you could spend an excessive amount of time in. The animation, the CG, he really emphasized how good it is and how good Weta does. And, he said, ILM does a great job, but they've got nothing on Weta. I didn't think that it looked that much better than like a Marvel movie. From like the mocap and stuff like that. I mean, and I've said it before, like as far as mocap performances go, like I don't think that you're going to find better mocap performances than you, even on the big screen, than you would in most like high level AAA gaming experiences. I think that Christopher Judge's Kratos in the two new God of War games blows away anything that Sam Worthington or Josh Brolin brings to the table as a CG render in Avatar or the Infinity War in Endgame. The narrative was like fine. It was a lot of just like tropey, overwrought stuff. The action sequences were, I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know how this escaped with a PG-13 rating, as violent as it was, because it was pretty violent, and some of the scenes were like pretty messed up. I guess it's okay if you're shooting like alien pets in the head instead of dogs, I suppose.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that, it was too long by a lot. The narrative was thin, but the world itself is gorgeous. Like you can't take anything away from it. It is stunning. What they're able to do with this, this world space. It's just kind of like, it's kind of a shame. Well, I'll give you an example. We said we'd get back to the sub thing, right? With the sub thing going on, I read an article from James Cameron. This was published, I don't know, a long time ago, over 10 years probably. And he had said that he didn't really care about the plot of Titanic. Like, he wasn't trying to make a love story. He just really wanted to do a dive of the Titanic, and he figured he would get Hollywood to pay for it.
Right.
And so I think that that's kind of the thing, is like, I'm curious to an extent, it seems like as a director or a creator that he really is invested in bringing together the world and the visuals, but the plot and the narrative are really, really not a priority. And I think that shows in both the Avatar movies, because as you've said many times, the first one's just Fern Gully,
Yeah.
and this is, or as I've said, like Dances with Wolves, and this is just like kind of more of the same. I mean, I don't know, like I didn't know most of the characters' names.
Yeah.
And it was neat. Like I said, the visuals are incredible. They're just incredible. And we watched this at home, so we didn't do the 3D thing. I remember seeing Avatar, the original, in 3D with our friend Ty, friend of the program, multiple time guest. That movie's made for 3D. You know what I mean? And I think that this is probably follows in with that. But just from a movie standpoint, it's no better or worse than good. So that's where I'll leave it.
I will disagree. I did not. I will say visually, yes, but I'll start with that. I'll start with my good maybe, and then I'll go to okay. So visually, yeah, it's really cool. But then to me, this is how I described it when I was talking about it. It reminded me of like a kid who gets a yo-yo and does like a yo-yo trick. Okay. And he's stoked. And the kid shows you the yo-yo trick, and you're like, that's awesome. Good for you. And then like 20 minutes later, he comes back and he shows you the exact same yo-yo trick again. And you're like, okay, good, that's cool. And for me, like as cool as the visuals were, honestly, after about an hour and a half, I just didn't care that it looked great. I was like, there has to be something that this movie is more than just looking good. Like you said, I don't know the characters' names. And that was like honestly kind of irritating me, like quite a bit more than it probably should have. But I was just like, I don't know who your names are. I don't. And the other thing too was like, and the first movie had the same problem. Like you're supposed to care about these characters, but I don't. Like I don't care. There's nothing here that makes them A, relatable, B, likable, or dislikable. I just don't care at all. Like you're supposed to root for the blue people and you're supposed to root against the military thing. But it's like I don't. There's nothing here for me to like make you like the military bad. Like I understand they're trying to pound that point home, and the guy has the gruff voice and the haircut, but it's just like also there's nothing about the blue people that makes me like them. I just don't. There's even if you like because like you said, like Dances with Wolves, like you understand that plot line. It's put out there. There's like an actual idea of what's going on there and the people you have compassion. But I didn't feel like there was anything there. I don't care if like they die. And there's like the emotional scene where like the character dies near the end, and I was just like, okay, I had no connection to this character, and it's like I've watched far like lesser movies in the production value where like a character dies and you're like, wow, that's crazy. I can't believe they did this. In this movie, I just didn't care, and so that was a problem. I liked the whales; those were cool. I thought that like that visual that was really cool. But the other thing there too with that, and I think I can even go right with it in the end, is like I like just watching the end of the movie. Where it's just the whales swimming around like after while the credit, and I'm like, this is cool. I was like, I would have rather watched that for maybe like an hour and a half than them trying to do the plot, because I just didn't care about the plot. And I also can't believe that Kate Winslet almost died making this, and because she did the under the water thing. And I think finally for me, there are two more points. The human kid or whatever,
Yeah.
that kid sucks. Like I honestly, he sucked as when he was with the blue people, and he sucked when he was with the army. He just was terrible all around. But I will end on this. On my point before we go into discussion is, I respect James Cameron for doing something different, for giving us a new world, for giving us something that we haven't seen before. I 100% respect him for that. The problem, there's a problem that I have with this, and I mean visually. I just mean the visual idea of this. The problem is that this can't keep being the thing. I mean, it made about $2 billion, whatever. Like, I understand that. The weirdest thing about it is I still only know like 15 people that have watched that movie, including us now. And that's the weird thing, is I don't know who saw this movie. I don't know how it made that kind of money. That's kind of crazy to me. But I feel like it has to eventually be good if they're going to keep like and then I finally told myself there were kids in my class that saw this movie this past year and loved it. And you know what? That's the audience. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
isn't, the plot doesn't matter to kids. It looks cool, and kids can do anything for 3 hours. They don't, I'm glad I didn't see this in theaters. There's no way, not for like a bathroom break, but I would have just been like, I honestly think, even though I would have paid actual money, I think I would have walked out. I really do. I just, the thin plotness of this, and just like you said, Brent, it's way too long. You easily can cut an hour out of this movie and nothing is lost other than the visuals. I understand why he makes it this long, because you spend all that money. It's going to cost a lot of money either way, so you might as well make it 3 hours and 15 minutes. But I do think that going forward, eventually these movies, I think, have to be good, but maybe not.
Let me tell you why
wrong.
that's not the case.
No, it's not. They're not going to. They don't. It won't matter. It won't matter. But I think just. This is what I should say. They don't have to be good. I just wish they were good. I wish this movie. I wish I would have walked away and been like, I was wrong.
Yeah.
awesome. I really do. Like, but I was 20 minutes in, I wasn't bored. But I will say, like, when I was about an hour and a half in, I was like, oh my God, like, I'll finish this because, we're doing this. But I had no interest. I just couldn't. I was actively paying attention. I did a thing where I was like, I have to put my phone down. I have to try because it's for this show. And I was like, I wish it would. I do wish. I 100% wish I was wrong. This is one of those things, but I did not enjoy it. I thought it was so boring. It looked cool, but that's like it for me. And it looked cool, and then I just stopped caring about even looking cool.
I think for me, it was exactly what I thought it would be. I thought it would be fine, and to me, it was fine. I mean, I don't think that if a movie is being nominated for Best Picture, as this was, I believe this was nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, it was on the best
Um,
picture.
it has to be more than just great visuals, because I just the narrative was just so, it was just so thin, and it was just so like predictable. There was not a single unexpected thing. I knew, and again, spoilers, whatever. I knew at some point, like, one of his kids is going to die. It's probably going to be the oldest one. I thought there was a fair chance that the wife character could go, but whatever. Uh, and I thought that I thought it was an interesting choice to have the final battle take place on a big boat and have it split in half and sink. That was interesting. Went back to the
That
old
was
bag of,
interesting.
went back to the
Yeah,
old bag of tricks there, didn't you, James? But I don't think that a movie has to be more than just great visuals to be nominated for Best Picture, because if that were the case, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio should have been nominated,
right.
because not only was it, in my opinion, not only was it great visuals, but it was also more skill in
Yeah,
making Pinocchio. It was stop motion. They have thousands of different puppets and silicone faces to put over to they're shooting one shot, 27 frames per second. And to me, it was interesting because Guillermo del Toro had uh was interviewed recently. He said, I think I might just only do animation from now on, because it is just more of it's just more means for expression. And I don't, but the thing is, realistically, how is this any different than doing animation?
right. Yeah,
Because
it is a
and I will say, I don't want to hear James Cameron say a goddamn thing about people on green screens, because you know
yeah.
I just
I will say the other really funny thing about this movie that kind of cracked me every time is every time they swore, it
yeah.
reminded me of like the person that has never swore before until they're like
Or how the kids called
16.
each other bro.
Yeah. And it's like, it was so weird that like every time they swore, and like these are actual actors doing these lines, but the
Yeah.
delivery was so bad.
Stiff.
I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh shit. And
Yeah.
I'm like, just don't say that. Like, I just
Yeah.
like,
I
if you
don't.
can't, you don't need to swear. Like, it was just funny to me. I don't know. That cracked me up. It made me laugh every time. I will say, like, every time someone swore, I was like, that's funny. Horrible
Yeah.
delivery.
I just
But
that was the one that grated on me, was how they called each other bro constantly.
that was rough.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't think it was any, I don't think it was any worse than good. I give it a solid 7. That's where I'm at with it.
Oh wow.
I give it a 7.
I got a 5. Like, I just
Yeah.
can't.
I think you're crazy, but that's fine. Me your recommendations.
Okay, so I have a book, The Darlings by Christina Auger. I hope I'm saying it, or Auger. It came out in 2019. It was actually recommended by, like, if you like Succession, here's some books to read. And essentially, this was about a rich New York family in finance. And this is not a spoiler, but the uncle kills himself at the very beginning. and then a whole plot develops about like why he possibly did this, and it's not a thriller, but it reads like one. It really like kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat about like what's happening with this family, all this stuff. And if you like Succession, or like any of those kind of things, like those power families, it's a great book. I mean, she's a really good writer. I think it was her first book. And then I just have a TV show. Well, actually, I wrote this up. John Wick 4
Oh
is
yeah.
awesome for anybody. It was like $1. I bought it for $1. I think like on the weekends it's for $1 now. On the
Okay.
weekdays it's like $5, but on the weekends it's like $1.50 or something. My mom watched it too, and she got me into John Wick movies actually. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just if you like John Wick, you will like John Wick 4, and they're gonna do a John Wick 5, and it's like I honestly, that's the thing where like keep them coming because you just know what you're doing with that.
Yeah.
And then I was it. Yeah, but I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I'm like missing. Oh, we watched The Verdict the other day. Paul Newman, 1982 courtroom drama. It's great. I mean, he should have won for best actor in that movie. He did not. Really good movie. And then my TV show on Netflix, the Great British Bake Off with the kids, the junior break off. Terrific. There's one kid. Her name's Lola, a
La, la,
superstar.
la, la, la.
Superstar. She's 9 years old. We're like, she's a 45-year-old wine mom trapped in a 9-year-old body. She says like the funniest things. And we're always like, is she kind of drunk on wine? Like she has that kind of thing, but she's like the coolest kid. There's a lot of like cool kids. There's this one kid's like 15, and he's just like, I just want to live completely off the land. And he's incredible too. Like in not like a weird way. You don't hate him. There's one kid I do dislike in this show. He just keeps skating by, but anyhow,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's really fun. If you need like a good 45-minute show just to kind of enjoy, and the kids are good bakers, that's also fun. So that's
Yeah.
my media recommendations. What about you, Brenton?
The Bear, which we'll
Oh
have
yeah, the Bear. Yes, the Bear.
we'll have that as a season review at some point here in the next few weeks. That's pretty much it for me.
Let me
Yeah.
ask you something before we go. What do you do on flights, Brent? Since you don't like flying, do you
Panic.
listen to podcasts? Do you watch a movie?
I just sit in panic. Yeah.
You really don't do anything?
No, I mean, like
I can't sleep on flights. That's one thing I just can't do.
like the Florida one is like an hour and 20 or an hour and 50 minutes. I think the first time we went, I watched the first Avengers.
Okay.
Or whatever. Maybe it was the second time. I don't know. But mostly I just like fidget and
I honestly,
nervous.
I save like some evergreen podcasts of certain shows.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm saving it for Monday.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to my Sacred Symbols podcast. It's usually like 4.5 hours long, so that'll probably
Sick. Yeah, I
there.
love that. I mean, it's a great thing to do, and it's like especially if you're listening to like one of those things where it is a long podcast, like one of those long form ones. You really can get lost in it, and you're like, I remember when we took the flight to Miami, not back, the whole back from Miami, but that was like the 5 hour, and that's actually the longest flight I had so far in my life. But I couldn't believe we were there because I had 2 podcasts or 2.5 hours long, and it was like, boom, you're like there. So yeah, good. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you, Brenton.
Yep.
We'll be in LA on Monday as well. We probably won't cross paths. We're going to dinner. I got this restaurant that I've been wanting to go to forever.
Scum and Villainy?
Wolf Mother.
Oh.
Or Mother Wolf. Wolf Mother's the band. Mother Wolf is the restaurant. I always do that in my head. But it's like this, I'll have a pizza review up from it. It's like
okay.
This Evan Funky, like crazy restaurant. Yeah. I mean, it's supposed to be like amazing. So I guess we could cross paths. I mean,
probably
we'll be there. So, but yeah. And then I'll see you, I guess, on Thursday.
Well, you see me again tomorrow night.
Well, I mean, in
person. Yeah,
I'll see.
Yeah. Thursday.
Tomorrow's podcast, I feel like, will be, since it's the vertical slice and I'm just guest appearing, I won't get into like the normal chit chat. It'll be
sure. Yeah. You can follow us on our social medias, BXG Productions on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.com/BXG Productions. Blech. Can't talk. YouTube.com @BXG Productions and GT Phil's Alpha Donut Guy. And if you see Greg, tell him congratulations and best wishes.
Yeah.
Or
that's cool.
To go fuck himself.
Either one.
Either way. All right. Take care. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Bye bye.